typically. And I don't want to see those same problems, but...
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
Final segment on Drive Time, and we're already into the second hour of our 1 hour show. That's how many callers we have gotten this afternoon, and we've still got a couple more to get to. And if you'd like to call in right now, we will go deep into hour number 2 if you'd like. I'll work overtime tonight as we're all fed up and frustrated at Syracuse and the state of the basketball program, and we're talking about it here on Drive Time, taking your phone calls at 315-437-7644. Let's go to Tony in Syracuse, who is waiting through the break. Hey, Tony.
Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So you had a caller last week that said you do a really good job on the play calls on the lacrosse and women's basketball, and I'm going to back that up. What you do. You had a fun weekend.
Yeah, I did.
This past weekend, huh?
Yeah, 2 big games. That was a lot of fun this weekend for sure. I appreciate you saying that, Tony, and listening.
Yeah. A lot of stress too, though. That's the problem. Maybe not when you call it, but when you listen to it, it was. But at least they pulled it out. In regards to the men's basketball team, the next coach, you can ask and wish for whatever you want, but the bottom line is going to be what Syracuse University is actually going to be willing to pay. And that could be a problem that some of these fans would not like whoever comes in.
Yeah.
That's number one. And then the other thing I want to say real quick with you is, we caught a break with the offensive line coach in the football not leaving. So I know you got some college.
No, I know. We've kind of lost track of football, but that's a good shout out. That it was good news to see Juan Castillo staying, and it seemed like he was wanted for an NFL job. So good news to see that he is staying. I know Fran is very high on him.
Yeah, so just keep up the good work, and appreciate you. And hopefully they'll give you a second hour. I think you'll be able to fill it with all the callers. But thanks a lot. And so I think a lot's going to have to do with the money.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Tony. And in the history of Syracuse athletics, they have not spent a ton, from what we know, on head coach of the men's basketball program comparatively. And a lot of that was... A lot of you are screaming right now at me, well, that was because of Jim Boeheim, and he took the hometown discount. And yes, they didn't really have to spend a ton. And you hope that maybe given what's on the line here, given that it is a very important hire, we had someone call into Orange Nation, I forget who it was now, and say it's time to pony up. And I would say to that, yes, of course, they need to make sure that they are competitive and they do whatever they can to pay the coach as much money as possible and attract the best coaches possible. But they've been trying to do that in the past too. And you can only pony up so much. And you also have to pony up your roster. And you've got to pony up from a standpoint of probably paying off a buyout to the coach. And I think they have to pony up pretty considerably if they want to get someone that is out there like a Josh Schertz. I don't know for certain, and I wouldn't, there's no way to find out for certain how much Josh Schertz is making compared to Adrian Autry, but it seems that Josh Schertz is making a lot of money for an Atlantic 10 job at St. Louis, and it would seem that he's probably maybe making about as much or more than Coach Autry already. So for him to leave St. Louis and for him to say, I'm wanted by everyone right now, and it's a bidding war for me, and I've got my pick at the top job out there, I would imagine they would have to pay him a lot of money in salary and also have to have a lot of money in NIL for their roster. And that's why it's important to consider what other jobs are going to be open and how do they compare to Syracuse. And we know one job is open now in Kansas State. I don't think it's as good of a job as Syracuse, but I certainly think that Kansas State has more money. I mean, they're paying a $19 million buyout potentially, or they're trying to fight it. But still, they've got a ton of money on their roster. It's very clear based on who they've added in the transfer portal. So I would say that from an NIL resources perspective, Kansas State is ahead of Syracuse, and they maybe even the gap, but obviously Syracuse as a program, and it's not like Manhattan, Kansas is a great place to live either. So Syracuse is ahead of that job right now, but we got to monitor what other jobs are out there. Let's go to John in Liverpool. And it looks like then we'll have one more caller before we wrap it up. But, John, you're up next on Drive Time.
Yeah, Tim, I know that you're connecting Hopkins with GMAC because they're alumni, but both were very popular. But GMAC stands alone. And I think that he would be very well accepted just because of what he did in the championship game, the 6-for-6 3-pointers in the first half. I think that GMAC is you shouldn't really couple him with Hopkins. But my second point is, if Siena goes on and makes the NCAA tournament, like one of your callers said, he's going to be gone. One of the big schools is going to gobble him up. Who knows? It could be Kansas State or something. He's going to get gobbled up, and it might as well be us that gobbles him up. So
I don't have that same fear, John. I think that he could maybe move up to a American A10 level tops. I don't think that a power conference is going to swoop in. I put it this way. I don't think Kansas State would be that fired up as a fan base if they hired Jerry McNamara. I think Syracuse would be more fired up than Kansas State's fan base.
Well, who knows? I think that there could be somebody out there like Hopkins. Who knows? Who would have known that Washington would have wanted Hopkins? But I will be personally disappointed if it's not GMAC. But I'll support anyone that it is. But I want it to be GMAC.
All right. Thanks for checking in, John. We got to get to one more caller. And it's just fascinating because we have so many people that call in and they say they want GMAC and it's GMAC clearly over Hopkins, or GMAC is really, there's a vocal amount of people that are calling in and supporting him. And then online, there's so many people that are so fed up whenever GMAC's name is uttered. So it would be a polarizing hire. And I'm sure a lot of these in a way would be polarizing. But it's going to be interesting for the university to consider all of this and how much they factor it in. And I know there's polls online that say that Mike Hopkins and Jerry McNamara will be terrible hires, or people are adamantly against it. It just feels like there's a lot of people on one side and there's a lot of people on the other side right now when it comes to the in-family versus outside the family discussion. Final phone call. Usually this guy leads us off sometimes, but we'll end with Nick in Las Vegas. What's up, Nick?
What's up, Tim? How are you, bud?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I listened to the show this morning and then obviously your show today, and a couple of things that stood out that I just kind of wanted to give my opinion on if you kind of agree or not. But the first thing is you just mentioned that, that the Lallies already give to the school. To my understanding, I also believe they are donating to USF at this point. So okay. I think if they do bring in Hopkins, I think that would be additional funds that they would hopefully give. So I don't think you can say – I think it's fair to say that you could count on more money from them if he is the coach, which is good.
It's certainly good that they like him and have a relationship with him. I wasn't trying to totally discount it, so I'm glad that you brought that up and gave more context on it. And if that's true, then that adds a little bit more to the idea of maybe he would be bringing in more money.
Yeah, agreed. And the one thing that really has been kind of either you're black or you're white, right? What side of the line are you on?
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Coach Boeheim, he did take the hometown discount for a long time, and if it wasn't for that, the fans wouldn't be used to the winning that they've experienced throughout the years, right? People have to realize Syracuse has never paid big money for coaches, like you said.
Yeah.
And to think that there isn't a reason why they experienced all the winning that they had, it's because they were spoiled by their hometown discount by Boeheim. So as much as people want to say they want to go outside the family's what got us to this point.
Yeah, and I struggle with a lot of people call in and they just say it's time for them to spend money. It's time for them to spend money. Some of the reason why they haven't spent money is because they don't have that money that other big schools have. So I understand why the average fan is really just pleading for them to dig deeper into the pockets right now. But we also got to keep in mind that The revenue share just became a thing. $20.5 million from the athletic revenue budget was removed to pay the players. And if you're following along, it seems like a lot of athletic departments right now are struggling to keep up. And yes, you look across the country and it's still head-scratching how many buyouts are being paid, and I can't really make sense of it all. And some of the decisions that are made are kind of counter to what I'm saying at some of the really prestigious big schools that have tons of money. But at schools like Syracuse, it doesn't feel like a lot of Syracuse's peers are in a position to start paying the coach way more, or start adding way more in terms of what the athletic budget is or how much money they have to put towards basketball or football. So I only say that from a perspective of, I don't know what the university's revenue is or what their budget is, but you can see around the country right now, there are a lot of schools that are struggling to turn a profit. And you would have to think that if you have $20.5 million stripped from your budget and given to the players, that's going to make it tougher to pay coaches as much money and tougher to, enhance the salary of some of the coaches.
Without question, right? It's got to come from someplace.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you guys talked this morning about the difference between like the Big East and, let's say, a team that doesn't have football, taking that money and spending it towards basketball. They may be putting the majority of their revenue share to basketball, but they also may not be doing the whole $20.5 million.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, I think from people I've talked to that are kind of more in the know than me on that situation, originally we thought the Big East was going to see a spike. The Big East has had kind of a down year. Maybe they will see more of a spike next year, but it seems that it hasn't translated as much as people thought, because it goes back to the conversation of why you need to be good at football right now and why it's important to be good at football. Football brings in so much money if it's humming, and the Big East is at a deficit in that regard. So even though they aren't contributing as much to football, I think you're right that maybe our theory that the Big East was going to really improve because of revenue sharing isn't going to pan out as much as we thought.
Yeah, I agree. I think the schools that do have football have to have a better balance, but the pure basketball schools, they're giving revenue share. They're just not giving $20.5 million.
Yeah. So I agree, Nick. Good stuff. Anything else on your mind?
No, I think that's it for now, but hopefully maybe later in the week we can talk some football.
Yeah, sounds good. I'd love to talk some football. At this point, it's been all basketball, and I'm just following along with all of you guys on the phone lines. If you want to talk some football, we can do that. If you want to talk some lacrosse, women's basketball, whatever, it's always open to dive into whatever is on your mind here on Drive Time. And I know a lot of what is on your mind right now, clearly based on the callers, is Syracuse men's basketball and the coaching situation. So we went officially the longest we've ever gone on Drive Time. We're well into the second hour, and we appreciate all of you for continuing to follow along on QSportsTalk.com and all of you for calling in. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll take more of your phone calls on the same topic, and we can flesh out more of this conversation tomorrow. Thanks to Kyle for producing. We'll talk to you next time on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.
This is our